Quite often, when dealing with long-lived tasks, we want to give our users the ability to cancel. So here we are starting a download task. I want to cancel this after 1 second. First, we go back to our download file task. Instead of pausing this thread to simulate a long-running task, let's add a for loop that continuously prints a message on the terminal. So for I equals 0, as long as it's less than integer.max value, I want a really large number so we can see this task going for a little while. I++, and here we print downloading byte I. With this, we can easily verify if our download actually gets canceled. Now, back to our demo class, I want to cancel this thread after 1 second. So let's pause the current thread for 1 second. That is thread.sleep 1000. Just like before, we should handle the interrupted exception here. So we're starting a separate thread to download a file, and then have the current thread, that is the main thread that is executing this code, wait for 1 second. Now, to cancel the download thread, here we call thread.interrupt. Let's run our program. So our download is going and going and going. How come it's not stopping? Let me stop the program first. All right. The reason our download thread didn't stop is that calling the interrupt method doesn't actually force the thread to stop. It simply sends an interrupt request to the thread. It's up to that thread to decide if it should stop what it's doing. So back to our download file task class. Here we should continuously check for an interrupt request. If we get that request, then we'll have to stop the download. So in this for loop, let's add a code block. First, we check for an interrupt request. So we type if thread.current thread, we get access to the current thread, and then call is interrupted. If this returns true, then we can break out of this loop or simply return. Otherwise, we're going to download the byte. Now let's run our program again. So after 1 second, our download stopped. So remember, the interrupt method doesn't force a thread to stop what it's doing. It simply sends an interrupt request. To support interruption, we should constantly check for the interrupted request and act accordingly. Now, if a thread is sleeping and we send an interrupt request to it, it throws an exception. That is why we have to handle this interrupted exception when pausing a thread.